Hey guys, welcome to the absolute first episode of Art Mart's Brutal Brunch here with Mark.
That's me.
Oh, you're so cute with your voice.
I know.
Well, first off, we want to say thank you to all of our Art Mart family for coming out, supporting us, hanging out. We're already getting a ton of views with everything with YouTube and Spotify. We just want to thank our fans and our friends and family so much for supporting us. We really appreciate it because every little bit helps. We also want to make sure that you guys understand that we need more guests on here. So bad, right, Mark?
All the guests.
All the guests. So if
We
you guys
want more than we need.
Yeah, but if you guys could email Tripp at trips2cents.com, tripp@trips2cents.com. If any guests,
Tripping on your words there, Tripp?
yeah, my name's a fallacy. But yeah, go ahead and email Tripp at trips2cents.com with anybody or yourself if you want to be interviewed on here. But yeah, let us know. We're always looking for new, fresh guests with a great artist's mind. But today we're going to be talking about what today, Mark?
Music and things.
All the music, where music's headed right now, what kind of stuff that we used to listen to back in the day, as well as, like you said, where it's headed. So getting into it, I really want to talk about the 80s a little bit and the 70s before we dive into what's music right now, right?
I do love the 80s. There's a song all about it by Killing Joke called 80s.
There's no way.
It's totally.
There's no way it's real.
It is.
Oh, I forgot to introduce, we have two special guests today with us, Layla and Marley. They're both my dogs, and they're being lazy, which is perfect because they're usually loud.
It's true.
They're not artists.
Usually very loud.
They're not artists, they're anarchists. But
I don't know. Based on your carpet the other day, I think the one was definitely an artist.
yeah, poop artists. For everyone that doesn't know what happened, my dog ended up literally painting my carpet with, or my rug with poop.
It was radioactive smelling. It was horrendous.
I may or may not have thrown up.
He did. He may have. And by may, I mean he did.
Yeah, I did throw up.
Absolutely did.
Straight
in front
up.
of me, into a bag, and then tasted the poop on accident.
I smelled it in my fucking mouth. But anywho, going on to music, one of the things that we were talking about kind of pre this podcast was about where music's headed, and especially that the rip in 2005 really where music just started going subgenres of subgenres of subgenres, and there wasn't really much pop culture to anything that we were doing really. It was just kind of like regurgitated bullshit, right?
Pretty much. It all sounded identical. I stopped listening to the radio because literally everything sounded the damn same.
Well, right. I mean, we kind of talked about this, like, technology kind of forced it by leasing music and YouTube to do these subgenres because, like, that got attention more than just creating something new, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure, yeah. I don't know. It just seemed like such an uncreative time of music at that point where everyone just seemed to sound like Jack White.
Well, yeah, even in, honestly, even in kind of rap, they were kind of regurgitating Biggie and Tupac stuff.
Yeah.
Over and over again. I mean, like, they used Clyde Shelton from, was it James Brown Band? He was the most sampled drummer of all time from, like, the 90s to the 2000s. And that didn't really change much. Like, sampling was just repeating other people's fucking music.
It's very true. I mean, that is what a lot of the early rap groups did, was mostly samples. So, like, I mean, look at Wu-Tang. Even now, they're still doing that.
Yeah, I mean, and there's honestly nothing wrong with that. It's just, I feel like for music to evolve, you have to do something else. Mm-hmm. And a huge part of this podcast is us trying to figure out where music is going without pop culture, really. Because everything, like, we were just looking at something today about trends, and evidently the quote-unquote 70s are in right now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I get that by the high-waisted jeans going on and the whole Farrah Fawcett-style hair going on and the big-ass glasses and sunglasses, even though that lends to the 80s like they started in the 70s.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing that him and I were talking about before the podcast even started, we actually had some good content and we put it on fucking tape.
That's what we do best. Our best content comes off camera or off microphone in this scenario.
Off recording, but we're talking about how, like, pop punk and stuff like that, like Blink-182, Sum 41, those kind of people got a kind of eclectic background mixed based off of 70s punk and then 80s goth. Mm-hmm. Right? And you can talk a little bit on that.
Oh, I can talk a lot a bit on that.
Well, talk to us, Mart.
I'm going to be timid. Don't you make me talk about things that I enjoy talking about.
Did you say tibulus? Because I think I broke one of those before.
No, that's a bone. That is a bone.
Boner.
But yeah, so, okay. I know a current trend right now is the like recirculation of post-punk, which for me I love because I listen to way too much post-punk and 80s goth rock as is. So the fact that there's this new wave of bands coming out and just like re-bringing that era back makes me happy. And also very sad because, you know, you got to be a sad boy when you listen to that music.
Well, I mean, even going on with that, it's still like I still feel like the past even 10 years is just recycled garbage.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, even if you listen to like the metalcore scene of like the mid 2000s, they've all now gone new metal. I mean, it still sounds like them, but they've taken on this role of like reviving new metal, like bands like Motionless in White and A Mirror and Attila even. Like it's all recycled new metal at this point.
Yeah, but Attila's fun.
I mean, yeah, but they're partycore. That's why they're fun. It's in the name.
Yeah, man.
It's in the name.
Don't be mad at me for loving them.
I'm not mad at you for loving them.
I saw them at Warped Tour and they were like fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's one I actually haven't got to see. I've seen a lot of like old early 2000s metal bands. That was fun.
Well, let's break this down because most of the demographic of you guys listening to this is like 23 to 34-year-olds, which is kind of prime time.
Look at them little kids.
No, boy.
Just barely out of diapers and listening to us.
And we also have like three 65 to 120-year-olds listening to us too. So
apparently all women in that age range, which is intriguing.
I hope you guys turn out to be groupies. I'd love you guys.
Either that or, you know, the nursing home is getting lit with our words.
Well, dude, they're probably drinking with us, so they're talking about this. Like,
probably.
I used to love art back when Hitler was a thing.
Oh, boy. He is the artist of generation for sure.
So this is a great time to tell you guys about supporting your local artists so they don't turn out to be like that.
Mm-hmm. Also, I would like to point out, please support people going to art school because when they get turned out of art school, well, we know what happened there.
Yeah, don't get turned out by art school. Just not make genocide.
Correct.
All right, so moving on back to music, but so we were like kind of talking about a little bit about genres and how kind of 2000s ruined pop culture and existence because of, you know, technology and the way the music.
Yeah, and also everyone was trying to sound the same. Like it was like 4 genres of music, but everybody in those 4 genres sounded identical. And it was so bad.
If you hear some snoring, it's because the dog is literally snoring.
No, that's just me. I have apnea.
I just thought it was gassy.
Could be that. That'd be apnea.
Well, anywho, she's literally snoring with her eyes open. It's fucking creepy. But getting back into that too, so one of the things that Mark and I kind of dissected while we were talking about this was like, let's this example for grunge, right? We were talking about grunge a little bit, and how like Dave Grohl got inspired from like, you know, 70s punk all the way to like people like The Cure and other different goth bands, and that actually kind of emulated to itself into the early 2000s with like Blink-182, Sum 41, and that kind of stuff. And it's interesting how they folded subgenres together. And now what we're doing is we're expanding subgenres so much that people can't actually get inspiration because they all sound the same.
Yeah, honestly, so one of my favorite memes that was sent to me of all times was which has more categories, Pornhub or metal, as far as subgenres go.
Metal.
Definitely metal. I mean, I think every band could be their own subgenre, sadly enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the way the culture's kind of made it. Like we're again, to reiterate on the you know, the technology that we've had, like with YouTube and leasing music with Spotify and Apple and Amazon, it's kind of forcing it to be like that because there's no actual like creativity. It's just like regurgitated bullshit.
Well, that's because everyone has to follow an algorithm now. Where before algorithms were a thing, people could be creative, but now to get their content out there, they have to fit into those very specific categories to get the views and the likes and the listens and all the other thing, the follows and the subscribes and the ding the bells and all that other bullshit.
Well, this is a good point for us to ask you guys what you guys think about this stuff. I mean, make sure you put in the comments. If you guys follow us on Facebook or Instagram, follow Tripp's 2 Cents. Do you want people to follow you?
No, I want absolutely no followers because I don't want an art career whatsoever.
Well, can I put you to plug?
Yes, so yes, follow me,
Plug
please.
yourself right now, bro.
At markjones.art on the Instagrams. That's where I post the fancy pictures that I make, etc.
Well, but coming from a personal experience, let me tell you, Mark's art is literally out of this world. There's a lot of alien stuff, a lot of trippy stuff, a little bit of everything. I love of his shit. He posted a picture this week on the group chat, right?
Yep.
Absolutely awesome. Hoping we can do a little maybe sneak preview on some social media for you guys or something like that. I don't know. Just trying to hype my man up.
Yeah, I just need to get it a little more polished first.
Well, yeah, but we got little teasers though.
Yeah.
Teasers.
Yeah.
Teasers.
Just
What's
just
a Marvel
teaser.
movie without teasers?
I don't know because I don't watch them.
Boo.
I don't watch Marvel.
That's so lame.
What can I say?
That's so lame. I'm a comic book nerd.
I look like a nerd, but apparently I'm not.
Well, no, because you're so cool, man.
Obviously.
You're just doing art shit all the time.
I used to smoke the clove cigarettes back in the day too.
I did too, man.
Right? Yeah, I was that kid.
Just different, just clink. Mm-hmm. Just different folks. But getting back to music, so I think Mark and I both agree about music today is a little bit repetitive. There's not a clear definition of pop culture with what's going on. So, Mark, for you, what was the best decade of music
80s, for sure.
and why?
Because it was great. Everyone was being creative and trying to be expressive with new things. And even though a lot of stuff ended up sounding the same in the end, where it all began was completely new. Like, I mean, just going off the stuff I listened to, which surprisingly was not really metal, given that's more what I listen to now. But bands like Susie and the Banshees, The Cure, The Church, The Mission, all that stuff was coming out back then, and it was all so unique. And a lot of those songs people will know even now, but not even know who they are or who did it, just because it becomes so iconic.
You asked me what my favorite decade is now?
2020.
Yeah, for some reason it's my favorite.
All 1 year of this music.
Oh, 1 year. Yeah. Mine's a split between the 90s and the 60s.
I could see that.
You can see my music taste. This is, yeah.
Yeah. Acid trips and depression. That covers both those decades.
He nailed me. Yeah, no, that's literally like that's the fucking bet. Like Nirvana, Beatles, like just your classic good shit. Mm-hmm. Your Wheaties of music.
Which I would like to also inject that your dog the other day did not have good shit. Back to that.
So I want to also, I'm going to paint a picture for the viewers for this. There was literally she just squatted and started shitting, but she didn't just stay in one spot. She just kept on walking.
It was horrible.
Just spreading this. I had to throw you were there. I had to throw the whole rug away.
The whole rug. And he had a fun interaction with somebody in the elevator on the way down with said stink rug.
I feel so bad for them because they had to smell that. Like it was bad.
It was rancid even, which is a good segue back into punk.
Rancid.
Like with
I
rancid.
love Rancid.
Yeah, like because Tim Armstrong has done a lot for punk. Everything from the Transplants to Rancid and other various endeavors. And in the early 2000s, I know he was doing a lot because he did stuff with, like Blink-182 and things.
Yeah.
Which it's funny because Rancid in the beginning was kind of crust punky.
Yeah.
And then they somehow turned pop punk, which I don't understand how that transition happened. But
for me, like, I don't think enough people understand what punk did for rock back in the 70s, like the late 70s, especially the early 80s, what it did for modern music today, especially rock.
Yeah, well, because even if you listen to some early punk, like The Clash, or even into the more goth scene, like Alien Sex Fiend, they all had that more rocky 70s psychedelic vibe to it. And it wasn't even really punk, but it was because of what they stood for and how they dressed and all that kind of stuff. They were very political, which is kind of what made punk at the time.
Well, punk is just about fucking everybody else off. Like, and that's what I love about punk is like you're a punk. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But like I said, I don't think enough people understand what that music did for what we listen to right now.
Yeah.
To that extent. I mean, even look at the Foo Fighters; they're still fucking rolling strong, and they had instruments like the Clash and the Cure. Like they were like that was like big fucking innovators for them to create what they did and
Right.
still doing.
Which, disappointing news, The Cure has 2 to 3 unreleased albums that they still have not released yet. And I'm eagerly waiting on that to someday happen.
I think I wait for someone to die.
Probably. I know one of the guys from The Cure just left them. And that's the first time they've lost a band member in close to 2 decades. Don't quote me on that. But I know that they were considered the longest running still together tour band for a long time. Because they still have most of the original members.
Suck it, Eagles.
Pretty much. Because, I mean, they've been doing it since, the early ass 80s. Like, before I was born. That says something because I'm ancient now.
I don't know. I'm feeling pretty old, man.
Shh, you.
Yeah. But anywho, getting back into the way it's kind of affected us right now, like, why don't we kind of talk about where music can go now? Well, you know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, so on this subject,
You're fucking hype on this one.
a little
man.
bit.
You hype.
A little bit. Because, like I said earlier, I'm very much loving the whole new trend of post-punk coming back.
Right.
That's been a joy to me. And then the stuff that the little kids are doing is also kind of nice. Like with the whole trap metal and ragecore thing. The fact that they took like what nu metal was doing for rap metal back in the early 2000s, where it was like rap lyrics on metal music.
Right.
They flipped it. Now they're doing metal growls and screaming on rap beats, which is a whole different thing, and I love it.
Let me add a little bit to that too. All right, so with the decline of technology, with what's going on right now, I also think there's a great opportunity and a great I even see it in like my niece and nephews when I was living in Raleigh, is they have an expansion of all the music we've ever listened to at the touch of their fingertips. Like there's kids right now like Greta Van Fleet. I love them, absolutely love Greta Van Fleet because they sound just like fucking Led Zeppelin. Mm-hmm. Like literally, they're like they ended up like going through the 70s and they got this crazy sound from the 70s, but made it their own.
Yeah.
In today's day and age,
And that's
they
a
had
lot.
access to it.
And that's a lot like the band Traders. Like the vocalist sounds exactly like Robert Smith from The Cure, and it's very much like a new age of The Cure without The Cure, because they don't want to release things for some reason, even though it's done.
Oh, I'm guilty of that myself. I've got like 25 unreleased songs that I just don't feel like are good enough.
Well, yeah, but you don't announce it to the world and make people be like, "Oh, I have all this stuff, but you're not gonna hear it." Kind of like the Wu-Tang album that was the one of a kind that was sold to Martin Scorsese, who apparently now has lost it in a court battle because of all of his shenanigans with vaccines and things that he was overpricing.
Dude, Wu-Tang for life.
Right?
Wu-Tang
So
for life.
with the new buyer, there's rumors that he is actually going to release it to the world. So the album that nobody has heard except Wu-Tang and one man who bought it at this point, because that's what we were waiting on. He was holding on to this album basically as a big fuck you, like I'm the only one that can listen to it. Nobody else can. Haha. But now that he had to give it up to pay back all the fraud that he did from, working in pharmaceuticals and whatnot. The potential buyer, who is yet to be released, last I heard, as far as the name of who it is, had already said that they might actually release it to the world to listen.
Well, justice isn't served all the time, but when it does, man, doesn't it feel good?
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
I cannot wait for this Wu-Tang album if it's going to come out.
Right? Well, I mean, it's been out for like 3-4 years.
Well, yeah, but it's not like released.
That's true. Well, it's technically released.
Technically.
It's in like a sterling silver plated box that's bejeweled with diamonds and all kinds of
released to
shit.
one man.
Yeah.
We can't listen to it with our
Yeah.
ears. So.
Well, considering that album sold for like more than $1 million, just that one copy, like, I mean, I am almost afraid that the hype of the album is not going to live up.
Well, that's why, like, honestly, I keep my hopes low for everything because I every time like I get like super excited about Even movies nowadays that like I always get my like fucking hopes let down because nothing as good as what it was like when pop culture was alive.
That's true.
There is no pop culture now; it's just influencers.
That is very true. But in a way, that shift has changed pop culture in a way. It's like, yeah, you have all the influencers that are just pretty for the sake of being pretty or doing vanity content for the sake of people watching a pretty person move their face around to a song, which is really stupid that that's even a thing. But it's also changed the way we have to create pop culture because you have to appeal to an audience. I mean, granted, it's not that you have to appeal to the influencer because you can then become one on your own
Right.
by appealing to the right audience.
100%. Well, I mean, like, I think part of the issue with getting into it is the fact that you have to come out with something like every day with social media and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And with saying that is there's no room for you to go off and like be creative and come up with something new when you have to do something every day. I think there's a certain aspect of that which actually kills creativity 100%.
Very true, especially being an artist using Instagram. The artists that seem to make it faster and bigger are the ones that release something every day. But they also put out very simplistic pieces, where
Right.
mine are very detailed and can take me 20 plus hours of work per piece. And sometimes I don't even get things out for a few months because it's so hard to do what I do in a short period of time. Where I know in a way I could just simplify my stuff down, boil it down to the basics, but I mean, that's not what I want to do. So if I am going to get anywhere with it, I want it to be because I'm doing what I want, not what everyone else wants.
Right, and I think that actually transpires to music a little bit in the sense that they kind of probably feel the same pressure. You know what I mean? Of like constantly releasing new things, and I think that's why mixtapes were so big back in like 2010 all the way to 2014 is because people were constantly releasing stuff and like keeping people's attention on them.
Yeah. Well, and even in that era, what was kind of nice is a band could put out one song, and if it just happens to get put on a compilation, they're still relevant. Like they don't even have to put out an album. They just got to do a song, and then they could go like another year and work on what they actually want to work on. But then it also falls into the area of bands, quote, selling out to create the music that people want to hear as opposed to what they want to make. And unfortunately,
Right.
that always offends the diehard fans, which are the minority in that situation.
Well, and honestly, like going back to even we'll sprinkle some business knowledge on you fellas, is in any kind of business, 80% of all of your revenue comes from 20% of your hardcore users. So if you're pissing off your fan base, then you're pissing off your hardcore users.
Yeah, because where
just
you might
decision
have a lot of people listen, but if 20% are the ones that love it and engage with it, they're also the ones that are going to buy the merch, that are going to support you, come to the shows, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. That's
where
the
the
hardcore
basic,
user.
yeah, where the basic other 80% will just give royalty revenue from streaming or radio, which is next to nothing income wise for musicians. Because I think Spotify is only like maybe, a fraction of a percent that you actually get.
Right. Well, I mean, like, it's just the way that shit is settled right now. Mm-hmm. With the way music is. I mean, even leasing music's still kind of new with what's going on. It just kind of feels weird with the way that we're talking about pop culture now. I'm kind of throwing fashion and music and art kind of in the same kind of lump, but there hasn't been anything like to me that's groundbreaking. Like like in between the 80s and the 90s, grunge like took over everything. It took over style. It took over culture. Like there's nothing like that right now.
No, I mean there's e-girls, but I mean that's just
No. Honestly, dude, it's just all subgenres of different things.
yeah.
That's what our life has turned into. Is just subgenres of subgenres of subgenres of subgenres, and it just keeps fucking going.
Yeah. I mean it is an infinite separation between subgenres. Because all you have to do is change one thing, and all of a sudden you just name it something, and you have another subgenre.
Exactly. Well, we really appreciate you guys listening to the absolute first episode of Brutal Brunch, brought to you by Mart, brought to you by Tripp's 2 Cents, brought to you by not Kit Kat.
But I haven't had my break today.
Give me a break, give me a break, give me a piece of that dick and balls.
Ew. Just
Right,
a
anyway,
piece?
we're gonna do one more plug for one more plug. Make sure you guys follow us on Spotify, Art Mart under Trips 2 Cents Productions. Make sure you follow Mark at his Instagram, which is
At markjones.arts. The most simple Instagram ever, so I'm easy to find.
I'm gonna bring back a little bit. I don't know if you guys remember chainmail, but if you guys don't follow Mark, something bad will happen to you.
Chainmail. I thought you were referring to like the medieval armor set.
Oh, that's even cooler though.
Yeah.
No, like I'm into the chainmail. Like if you don't repose this to 30 people, you're gonna die.
Oh yeah, like
Remember that
where
shit?
Bloody Mary will come crawling out of the bathtub or some weird ass shit.
See, and I've always had this idea of like scary movies, stuff like that. What if you just pee on the ghost or something like that, and it's like just turn topsy turvy? Like they'll probably freak out.
A little bit.
Well, I wasn't expecting this. I wanted to scare somebody.
But
Oh my God.
on that same note, please do not send your money to Nigerian princes that are saying that you'll get your money tenfold back.
No, donate it to us.
Yeah.
We need the money. This is a startup of a startup.
It's true. Isn't that the truth? But yeah, because if you're going to give to any scam, at least give to us because you'll hear our voices.
Yeah, and we can get better artists on here for whatnot, and we can actually start paying each other so we can, Well, I've already left my job, and Mark is we're trying to get him a situation where he can be here full time. Mm-hmm. But any support that you guys have is muchly appreciated. We just thank the fans, we thank our family, the community that we've had so far, and we can't wait to see you next week. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you.
That's the way to end it.